Greetings, salutations, and yes, it's cold outside. My name is Jay Query. That is Derek Schultz. And this is Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network. And, before we get to everything else, Derek, and we got a ton to talk about. We got NFL playoffs. We got the Colts wrap-up to kind of continue to do. We've got IU, Purdue, Pacers out west. But first and foremost, I think we should, because sometimes I think we get into the nuance and we forget to thank the great folks that make it possible for us to do this for now, what is almost 5 years now? Is that right?
Yeah, 4.5.
So we'll begin with Bailey and Wood. Bailey and Wood is the presenting sponsor of this program. Bailey and Wood, of course, and I feel bad for Mike because he's a diehard Dolphins fan.
Yeah.
But
at least the Cowboys and Eagles both went like this, so that stole a lot of the Dolphins' failure thunder, I would say.
That's true.
Yeah.
But Bailey and Wood, by the way, who BAWFG.com, right, is the website?
BAWFG.com.
Bailey and Wood, who does fabulous work in helping out folks with mortgages throughout central Indiana. Primarily the south side is where they're based, but they're growing all the time and continuing to give back to the community, which is what we love about them.
Absolutely. And 855-350-HOME for our friends at Bailey and Wood, the presenting sponsors.
A little bit slower.
855-350-HOME.
Thank you very much.
We've got our friends at Hoagies and Hops. I got my hoagie right here. We're going to do that later on this segment.
When you get the new home from Bailey and Wood, the first thing you want to do is make sure that it looks, if you want to update it, Chateau Kitchens is who you call, right?
Chateau Kitchens, of course.
And
IUPUI.
You want to make sure that your home is warm this time of year, and Love Heating is there for you,
Love
right?
Heating and Cooling.
Love-HVAC.com, 317-353-2141.
You want to slam some beers in that
Love
home?
Heating and Air.
Chili water brew.
That's right. You want to make sure the water's chilly, but the house is warm, right?
Okay, yeah. Are we good? We good on the weather? We get all the weather stuff out of the way?
Derek, the NFL playoffs so far, I think have been, I'm not going to say they've been like a letdown, but I don't know. There have been a couple of really good games.
Do you feel that way? Yeah?
Yeah, like I kind of feel like.
Look.
Okay.
Let me break this into two categories. The games haven't been very competitive. Is that what you mean?
That's more what I mean, yeah.
Narrative-wise.
Yes, there have been fun storylines.
This has been great.
But the games have just kind of been like.
Yeah, the games have been blowouts. I mean, outside of. Bills Steelers was a little bit closer than I expected it to be. But outside of Rams Lions, nothing came down to the wire, right? I mean,
Rams Lions was a good game.
The Chiefs they kept kicking field goals, but that was a blowout. They blew out the Dolphins.
Let's begin with this one. We'll begin with Kansas City, Miami. And I have a legitimate question, and I'm sure this was answered during the broadcast. I kind of had it on. We did get, watch it on Peacock. And I had it on kind of more as background noise probably as much as anything. But did Miami get to or go to the Midwest early?
I don't know.
Because wouldn't it behoove them to have arrived? I realize Kansas City probably was not going to let them use their practice facility.
Yeah.
But to go to St. Louis or Omaha or somewhere and get that taken care of, and maybe they did do that. I just was curious. If you're an 80-degree weather team and you're going to play in sub-zero temperatures, do you arrive a week early to get everybody acclimated?
To get used to it. I think the problem is, and I want to say it might have been Robert Mathis who said this, but I'm pretty sure it was Reggie Wayne when we used to do the player show with him, is that, regardless of where you're from or whatever, and Reggie's a Miami guy, he hates the cold, right? Which is shocking that he decided to take a job with the Colts as a coach. He said that after the adrenaline wears off after like 5 minutes, and then it's run a couple plays, give me that coat. Run a couple plays, give me that coat. So there's no way to really get fully acclimated to it being
I
that
get it,
cold.
But you would think that would be a real shock, though, right?
I don't know if it mattered. If this was a close game, then maybe it would have mattered, but the Chiefs were just way better.
They were.
They were just way better than the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins, I think their season was dead to rights the second they lost that game to Buffalo. Because they could have hosted. They would have won the AFC East. They could have hosted that first round. I think once that happened and you found out that they were going on the road, I think that was it for them.
So, Kansas City is one that you do feel like they can flip a switch. When that's going to happen, I don't know.
Yeah, it looked a little bit more vintage Kansas City in that game. They moved the ball fairly easily. How about this for a little factoid? And I guess I should have thought of this. The game against Buffalo will be Patrick Mahomes' first road playoff game.
Really?
Isn't that crazy?
That is stunning.
That is their first. I'm not talking neutral fields. I mean, obviously they didn't play the Super Bowls at Arrowhead Stadium, but true road game.
Okay,
true playoff road game.
Here's another factoid. I believe this is correct. You tell me. I'm going off the top of my head. So I'm going to trust Greg Rakestraw, who does our fonts here that you see, to either correct me or verify my brilliance.
Rake will know.
I believe there have only been 2 franchises who have had a winless season in the National Football League, and they're playing one another in the divisional round. I think that's correct.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because the Buccaneers, that was a strike-shortened season, though, right?
No, I think it was the Bucs' first year in the league. They only played 14 games then.
Oh, okay.
So they were 0-14.
Gotcha.
And then the Lions had an 0-16 season. I don't think anybody's done it since Detroit, right?
No.
Am I missing somebody?
No. Oh, no. I think you're right.
So there have been, 76 Bucks.
Wait, no, the Browns did it. The Browns went 0-16. One of the Hugh Jackson years.
That does sound right.
2016 maybe, 2015, somewhere in there.
Okay. I thought maybe it had been done once since Detroit.
The Browns had done it, but still, that's pretty cool.
Right.
And what a story! I mean, we could shift right over to Detroit. I mean, that's besides the Cowboys completely melting down, just an epic meltdown. That was the big storyline of the weekend.
Derek, let's table Detroit for a second to get to the Cowboys thing, because I do want to point this out. I thought the game with Dallas was as much about the incredible arrival before our eyes of Jordan Love as it was Dallas's meltdown. Like, this guy, people haven't talked about it, but the last third of the season, he's been as good a quarterback as there is in the league.
Yeah.
And nobody talks about it because it's Green Bay, right? I mean, they had to, scratch and claw just to get into the playoffs, right?
It took a while for Jordan Love. C.J. Stroud was instant.
Yeah.
And it took a while for Love. And sometimes when it takes a while, it takes that much longer for people to kind of get on board. I think if you're making a list of the top 10 quarterbacks right now, which seems to be completely wide open beyond like the Mahomes-Allen tier at the very top, he's there. He's at least in that conversation with what he's done, even with a small sample size. What strikes me about Dallas is that this feels like the Romo era all over again. Like, Dak Prescott is, to me, firmly a top 10 NFL quarterback.
Right.
Dallas is really good. Like,
they have good players.
Good
You're
roster.
Right. I don't disagree.
And it's been a really good roster for the last couple of years, and they have nothing to show for it. And I don't know if there is a rhyme or reason. Like, I don't think it's, Dak's a choker, or even Mike McCarthy, who they're probably going to have to fire now. But it's astonishing to me that they can't. I'm not talking Super Bowl. I'm talking, can you get to the conference championship game? And I always bring up this stat. It's my favorite stat. 26 teams have made a conference championship game since Dallas last did. Jaguars have done it 3 times. Jets have done it 3 times. Bears have done it twice. I mean, you're talking about the most pitiful franchises in the league that have done it multiple times.
Do you know that song by Mariah Carey? Boyz II Men's in it.
Yeah.
And I know da, forever. You know what?
From heaven.
From heaven.
So many friends we've lost along the way. And I know you're shining down on me from heaven. And I know someday we'll be together, one sweet day. Something from heaven. Although there will never time, we always look for a brighter day. Then Mariah comes in. Day, Lord, I know when you lay me down to sleep, you will always listen as I pray. Then they all come in and back into the chorus.
Yeah, I was just pointing out that was the number 1 song the last time.
I love that song.
Clearly,
I'm a huge.
Clearly,
I don't know if
that was the number 1
before.
song the last time the Dallas
Cowboys. I'm a
Cowboys
gigantic like Mariah Carey
conference
fan.
champion.
Yeah.
Well, who wasn't back then?
Oh, I just mean for her. You're gross. She's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but I just mean for her talent.
So you didn't notice anything about her like in her prime, like
she could hit like 12 different.
But like
octaves.
the posters of her, you weren't like.
I mean, I just thought her vocal range was crazy. Yeah, absolutely. I thought all of that. Unbelievable.
You were like 12 years old, like at peak Mariah. You didn't like that's peak time.
Well, I was a soloist around that time too. Mr. Paracchio's music class.
I'm aware.
At Middlebrook Elementary School, and then into Madison Middle School, and yeah. So I was honing my own skills, but Mariah's like an impossible bar. She was the Michael Jordan of vocalists. She's unbelievable. I actually thought that she was better than Whitney.
Okay.
God rest her soul.
Either way, it's been a long time for the Dallas Cowboys. But
what
Green Bay,
were we talking about? Is that was the last time?
That was
the number one.
The
song?
last time that Dallas went to a conference championship. That was the number one song.
Yeah. But
it's been a while.
What's crazy about it is that it's not like, the Lions have had a bunch of terrible teams. Dallas has had a bunch of good teams in that span.
No, I know.
Like the 07 team with T.O. and Tony Romo, they won like 13 games. These last couple of years, I love it. Don't get me wrong, because I hate Dallas, but I can't pinpoint why they can't do it.
The only thing I can think, Derek, and I mean, this is kind of the easy cop-out answer, but is it owner over-involvement?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
Maybe. I do think that once Green Bay jumped out to that lead, and you could just feel it.
Oh, for sure.
You could feel it because of the fans. And I think the fans it bleeds into how the players are performing on the field. And then after the pick six, I mean, that effectively ended the game. 27-0, that game was over.
The other game that you had mentioned, Detroit.
Yeah.
Look, and I mentioned this on the radio, but I'm going to repeat it here. Jared Goff, Derek, I think you've got to give this guy a ton of credit. A ton. Not just because of what he did in knocking out the Rams and delivering Detroit their first playoff win in 33 years, 32, I guess. But the fact that, here's a guy that grew up in California, went to Cal Berkeley, had a phenomenal year in college that catapulted him into becoming the number one pick in the NFL draft, to his home state Rams. He's the quarterback in Los Angeles, right? He's walking the Santa Monica Pier. He's hanging out on Hollywood Boulevard.
It's a good life. Goes to the Super Bowl in year two.
His girlfriend is a swimsuit model for Sports Illustrated, goes to the Super Bowl, and then in that Super Bowl looks completely befuddled, right? And kind of vapor locks. At the same time, Matthew Stafford is in Detroit, where he's got a big arm. He's a number one overall pick. He has a great run as a quarterback, but everybody, including the Lions, knows he's gone as far as anybody can go as the quarterback of the Detroit Lions. So they do him a solid at his request, and they trade him. And the whole city of Detroit is like, Matthew Stafford, we get it. Good luck, son. Go set the world on fire. And they have this love affair with him, right? He goes to L.A., and he immediately finishes what Jared Goff set up but couldn't do. Mm-hmm. Goff all of a sudden goes from Los Angeles to Detroit, Michigan. 40 degrees and raining every day of the year. Terrible franchise, locked in mediocrity, and he knows he's going in to replace the guy that is finishing the job he couldn't finish in Los Angeles, in his home state. And instead of sulking and just saying, I'm done with this, he basically just put his nose down and did what he had to do and helped lift Detroit to that point. And then, even though he was emotional afterwards, basically said, this is all about my guys, my teammates.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a story that if you're a sports fan, you have to say, you know what, good for this guy, right?
Oh, absolutely. This is not a direct comp. I understand this is the best that I could come up with, but it's almost like a Kurt Warner type path where he has all this early success, and then you just kind of give up on him, and then you forget that he's even there.
Right.
And then he comes back for this second stint and kind of revitalizes his career. Now, I understand that Goff never Kurt Warner was a backup for a couple of years with the Giants, and then he had a second lease on life with Arizona. It's amazing to see him come back because I had, like everybody else, I had written him off. I mean, he was like Rick Meyer or something, right? Where the first couple of years you're like, hey, okay, maybe there's something here, and then he was essentially a throw-in in that
He was really good in
year.
that game. I mean, against the Rams.
He was really good in 2018. He had a great season. But the last couple of years in Detroit, he's bought in, and they've rallied around him, and the whole thing. Dan Campbell's been the perfect fit, right, for them as a head coach, and the grit and the determination and the fact that they're going to have another home game now. Can you imagine what that crowd's going to be like? It's going to be
Will
insane.
They beat Tampa?
Yeah, I think they will. Philly's bubble burst. Philly reminds me, do you remember that Steelers team from a couple years ago? The Colts actually played them. Steelers started, 9-0, 10-0. And then they just did a nosedive, and they actually beat the Colts. That was like their one game, and they lost to the Browns in the playoffs. This Philly team reminds me of that. They were never as good as 10-1. They were kind of winning a bunch of close games, and then it all just kind of crumbled.
with Philly, and I like this guy, but with Philly, like, it feels like Nick Sirianni kind of went with the, like, in-your-face, trash-talk bravado, like, one step too far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
He's cocky.
And it was tough for them to come back from that.
And you lose Shane Steichen, and then it all goes to hell.
That's right.
Right? I mean, if we're doing a Colts tie-in there, I guess.
By the way, speaking of Jared Goff, sandwich time, Derek.
Yeah, he is our hero of the week, thanks to our friends at Hoagies and Hops. And before we talk more about golf, this is our...
Not golf, Goff.
Goff.
You said golf.
Before we talk about Goff?
Okay, that's better, but you said golf for the first time.
No, I did not say golf.
Yeah, you did.
All right, we'll get in post. 3, 2, 1. Before we talk about golf,
thank you.
Here is our Hoagie of the week. This is called Brotherly Love. So what's cool about this is that I really liked Thousand Island dressing as a kid. I don't know why. I had a weird obsession with it. Has Thousand Island on it, house-made. House-made slaw, ham, turkey, Munster, really underrated sandwich cheese. So it's like Market Street a little bit, but it's a little bit different in there.
It has kind of
and how that's worked.
It's like a sweet spice to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to put the whole thing in your mouth.
Oh, that is good. Wait, this is Market Street, right? Brotherly Love has oil, and I think it has salami. Let me look up Christina's menu. I always get those two sandwiches confused. It's a really good sandwich.
I mean, they're all great, but Derek, like, we have sponsors that are counting on us to give factual information here. You're the one that goes and picks these up.
This is Market Street, which we'll do Brotherly Love next week. Because Brotherly Love is also turkey and ham, but I know it has oil and it has Prove. This doesn't have Prove on it. This has Munster on it, but it's still really good. Market Street.
You've got the oil all over the place, or the
slaw. It's good slaw. It's house-made slaw.
What?
House-made slaw.
You brought chili water beer too.
I did. One hop wonder. Maybe Nick Sirianni was a one hop wonder. Sorry, I don't know why we're being mean. I actually kind of like Nick Sirianni.
Hoagies and Hops is like based on their love for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's not rub it in too hard.
I guess I should, because I send these clips to Christina. We're devastated by Philly's loss, Christina. They made they opened up last night. They're not usually open on Mondays, and we're taping this on Tuesday, and they opened up for the game, and a lot of heartbroken Eagles fans, unfortunately. But it's been a great run.
A lot of one-hop wonder was considered
these last couple of years.
That's fabulous.
As you mentioned, Rams dumped Goff when they thought he was a one-hit wonder, right? And here he is, 59 touchdowns the last 2 years combined, first playoff win in a generation. I think in a way it was kind of the NFL's version of the Sabonis-Halliburton trade, right? Both teams got what they wanted. I mean, the Rams got their ring. Doesn't matter if they get there again, and they've been competitive ever since, but they went all in for a championship, and they got it. And I think, in a way, it felt like Detroit won the championship. I mean, that's how significant that playoff win was for that crowd. And now they got a chance to go to a conference championship game for the first time also since that 1991 season.
People were crying, Derek.
This is good. The India Pale Ale.
That's great.
One hop wonder. Really, really good. We'll tie in some Colts when we come back. Also, this is a little awkward because IU Purdue's playing when a lot of you maybe are watching this right now. So we will talk IU and Purdue, but we're going to have to be kind of general because chances are when some of you are watching this, that game is already going to have concluded. But we'll talk a little hoopage as well as we continue. Just getting started here on episode 169. It's Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood presents Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. Whether you're joining us from central Indiana, which feels like the ice planet of Hoth right now, or anywhere in the country or world, we really appreciate you joining us.
Ice planet of what?
Here on Query and Schultz. Hoth. It's from Star Wars. When they rode Tauntauns.
Those are the big things with the long legs.
I think you're thinking of AT-ATs. They're not machines. They are beings. They're animals.
Okay.
They look kind of like a mix between like a kangaroo and a ram.
Which movie is it?
Just forget it. I'm not going to explain this to you because you're just going to make fun of me.
No.
And then it's going to be.
No, I just remember
it's going to be stupid.
there was one.
Okay.
I have a childhood memory of one of the first three, and like everybody had the different toys.
Yeah.
And one of the toys was a large. They had like long legs, and they out of it. But I thought
Those are AT-ATs.
They were on a cold planet, right?
Yes, AT-ATs were also used on the ice planet Hoth, but they were machines.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was from Empire Strikes Back, right?
Chris Ballard season-ending
Legitimate
remarks
question.
Feels like a really long time ago, but wanted to touch on those. I do think it's interesting that Gus Bradley is going to be back for all intents and purposes. Coming out of the season, I thought there was a chance that maybe both sides would kind of part ways and Steichen would handpick somebody, but I'm assuming Shane Steichen made that call. I'm assuming they empower him to make that call. They should. And a lot of key free agents here, which he discussed, and he wants to bring everybody back, which isn't a surprise. That matches up with what the Colts have done. I'll list really the four biggest key ones, and you tell me if you think any of them won't be back.
Okay.
Michael Pittman Jr., Kenny Moore, Julian Blackmon, Grover Stewart.
Julian Blackmon, I would see, he's a very important player for them, but health has been an issue.
Yeah.
Probably depends on all four of those guys, Derek. Grover Stewart might be the exception here. But Michael Pittman Jr., probably Kenny Moore, and Julian Blackmon, all three of those guys, I feel like the amount the Colts would be willing to pay them, they have more value to the Colts than they would on the open market.
Yeah. Blackmon, especially because of the secondary, right?
That's what I mean.
You think?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Pittman Jr. is going to be back.
Pittman's back.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way. The Colts are going to do everything.
At the very least, they're going to tag him.
They need to, yeah. I hope they don't let it get that far, but yeah, he'll be back.
On the Gus Bradley front, Gus Bradley runs, like Rick Venturi, for example, I know on the radio was saying that he thinks that his defense is a little too bland and predictable. I'm going to give Gus Bradley benefit of doubt and say that Gus Bradley's defense was limited by the personnel he was handed.
Yeah, I agree.
And the injuries. But the personnel in particular, I mean, Shaquille Leonard's body completely broke down on him, and he was a total liability. Zaire Franklin's a good player. DeForest Buckner's a really good player. The pass rush that Chris Ballard has built has been totally inconsistent. When it's good, it's pretty good. Dio's a good player. Quiddy Pay's a good player.
It's been better on paper than it's
great.
looked on the field, I think, is what I would say about the pass rush.
So I think that they know that. I think they know that he's been a little handcuffed. I think Chris Ballard is competent. I don't think, for all the people that are like, Chris Ballard kind of reminds me of Andrew Luck. And by that I mean, if you remember, Derek, when Andrew Luck came into the league, and I think Andrew Luck is a better quarterback than Ballard is executive, don't get me wrong. But when Andrew Luck came in the league, no one could quantify or specifically pinpoint what made him great. And if you remember when we were doing the radio show, I would ask people, I'm like, I know you say he's great, but give me a reason why. He says, he's special. But what makes him special? He's great. But what exactly, give me a moment that you saw that led you to say why he's special. Oh, he just does stuff. And it was like, and with Ballard, as an executive, you had all these people that were like, I'll tell you what, Chris Ballard that was a home run hired by Jim Irsay, and this guy knows ball, and he's been there for, 7 years? They're 6 games under 500. They don't have a playoff win.
They have one.
Or one, yeah. That's right. Over Houston, right?
Yep.
And it's like, okay, so what is it about him that makes him this great coveted GM? I'm not saying he's terrible. But I think he's been pretty average, right?
Yeah. I think what I would say is when they decided to recalibrate, if we're not going to use the word rebuild, when they decided to recalibrate, I was on board because I think Chris Ballard and Kevin Pritchard, I think, are very similar in that they've had a lot of bad luck. I think luck is part of it. People don't want to admit that. Luck is a big part of sports. Sometimes things break your way.
You're not saying Andrew. You're saying that.
No, they've had literally bad fortune. How about that? That said, in watching that press conference, when he drops the F-bomb and all of that, like 3, 4, 5 years ago, I used to eat that up. Now I'm sitting there like this, results. That's where I'm at now. The Colts have to do something tangible, win something tangible next year. No more waiting.
Do you know
no more waiting. Look at all these other teams. The Texans lost Watson, right? They traded him. They built it back down. They're up. Look at all these teams that have kind of come back.
No, you're right.
Look at the Buccaneers, for God's sake. And they've come back and won a playoff game after losing Brady. I mean, NFL rebuilds don't take 10 years.
Yeah,
they don't.
The Andrew Luck retired excuse is ridiculous.
It's completely gone. It's completely out the window now. And you know what? Like, I'm not saying that. I'm not coming from a place of anger and frustration. I'm coming from a place of this is my expectation.
I'll put it to you this way.
The road is open for the Colts to do something.
There are
next year.
8 teams left in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
How many of those 8 teams in the NFL right now? I'm putting you on the spot. How many of those teams, the 8 teams that are in the NFL right now, how many of them are playing in the playoffs with a quarterback that they had the day Andrew Luck retired?
Chiefs.
Okay.
Bills. When did the Ravens draft Lamar? Was it 20 or it was 19, right? I think. So he would have been right around there.
Okay.
Yeah, 19. Okay. Texans obviously not. So Stroud, there's one. Lions did not because they hadn't made the Goff trade yet.
Bucks?
Bucks did not because Baker's obviously a first-year quarterback. Packers, no. With Love. Love was drafted in 20, I think, right?
San Francisco?
And then San Francisco with Purdy. Yeah, there you go. So five of the 8.
Yeah, I mean, now here's one thing that I want to thank Chris Ballard for. I want to thank Chris Ballard for this. I think Chris Ballard's younger than I, is he not?
No, I don't think so.
He's right around my age, right?
Let me look, yeah.
I think Chris Ballard's obviously he's an in-shape guy.
He's 3 years younger. 3 years older, I should say.
So he's
69.
54. Okay. So
1969.
He's 54 years old.
Yeah, 1969.
I want to thank Chris Ballard because I myself, Jake Query, probably also was living a lie. I was living with this, what I thought was vibe or mojo that allowed me to be youngish. I thought I exuded, I thought that I looked, I thought I appeared, and I thought I acted a little bit younger than I really am. I think when people saw me, they thought, like, that guy looks like he's 40 when I was really 50. I didn't realize it. Everybody else knew I was 50, but I thought I looked 40. And part of that was just like the clothing that I wore. Derek, I think you were one, like when I was in my 40s, I had a hat on backwards one day, and you're like, yeah, man, it's over.
Yeah.
You got to turn the hat around.
It's got to go.
I want to thank Chris Ballard for illuminating to me and making it noticeable finally. Not saying that I won't ever do it again myself, but how absurd it looks to be over the age of 50 and wearing a flat brim hat. I never noticed it before. I probably did it myself, and then he now has been doing, like, regularly these Colts press conferences and stuff with a hat like this. And I'm like, you're old, man. You're old.
The reason why I want
so
him
now
to
I get it. Now I get what you were telling me.
The reason why I want him to be successful is because I think he's cool. Like, there's a lot to like about Chris Ballard. We're supposed to evaluate him.
Here's the thing, Derek. I don't disagree.
As a personnel guy.
I don't disagree, and I do want him to do well. There's a lot to like about him, except for there's no doubt about the fact that it appears as though no matter how much you like Chris Ballard, you're not going to as much as he does.
Well, yeah. But
I love me some me, so
I was going to say, I thought you guys would be able to connect.
I can relate to that.
Over something like that. And before people were like, oh,
self-love recognizes
Schultz
self-love.
Are going in on Ballard. I'm not trying to go in on him. All I'm saying is that I think the Colts, if they bring these players back, I think this roster and this quarterback and this coach are good enough to be in the playoffs and win a playoff game and make some noise. I do. I believe that. And so that's my expectation. So if the Colts fail to fulfill that expectation again, and this is now this next year, 24, will be year 10 of this slog, and I know Ballard wasn't part of all of that, then I think it's time to move on to the next thing.
I will say this, man. Can you imagine? It would be such a hard job. I know he's handsomely paid, but it would be a hard job because, I mean, you're so reliant on, as you said, fortune, luck,
health.
Yeah. And even then, you just never know, man.
No, you don't.
You never know when your team's just going to have an off day, It's tough.
You always know when Love Heating and Cooling are going to be available to help fix your HVAC unit because they have a 24-hour helpline, obviously, but 353-2141, love-hvac.com to service your furnace or AC. They do a great job. They've installed and serviced the one in my house and have so for 10 years. It'll be 10 years this spring. Can you believe it? 10 years ago, I bought that house.
Yeah, you've only done 38 remodels of it since.
Yeah, no big deal. Chateau Kitchens, thank you very much for helping me with that. We're going to stay on the NFL topic.
For Love That Play, our favorite play of the weekend.
The Bills, this is my favorite type of run. The Giants did this in 2011 where the Giants were, I think they were actually 7-7, and then they won their last two games to get in. Bills were 6-6, past halfway point of the season, had a 5% chance of the playoffs. I know you love probabilities, right? And have just gone on a tear ever since then. 7-game win streak. Josh Allen's touchdown run, and I understand the Steelers got themselves, and credit Pittsburgh. I thought they really fought and got themselves back in the game, but that touchdown run really kind of set the tone, I thought. 52 yards. Fans are going crazy. They're throwing snow up in the air. It's just wild to me, Jake, that we now, fourth straight year that Buffalo has won at least one playoff game. The Chiefs and Bills did nothing for like 25 years. Nothing. From the mid-'90s until about 4 or 5 years ago, those franchises hadn't done squat.
Right.
I think combined they had won one playoff game. And now they're in the divisional. Like, you expect them to be there every year. And I get it's Mahomes and Allen, but good job for those franchises for keeping it up.
Josh Allen I love because, Derek, what's the one thing I always say about Josh Allen?
You were right about him? Okay. Yeah.
Josh Allen and C.J. Stroud were two quarterbacks going into the draft.
Right. Yeah, you were on Stroud.
C.J. Stroud, I was like, that's who the Colts have to get, right?
Yeah.
But Josh Allen, I just think is a cool story all the way around, and he is the perfect Buffalo quarterback because he played at Wyoming. So, like, you feel like he played 10 games a year in college in snowstorms and wind and
underdog story, underdog town,
all of it, right?
It just kind of fits.
Is this the year they finally break through?
Yeah, I really do. I picked it to start the playoffs, and I still feel that way. I think Buffalo is the AFC representative.
By the way, I want to show. So at the radio station where I work, on Friday morning, the web guy sends a thing that says, "I need to know your Super Bowl winner pick." And I thought, okay, everybody's going to go with Baltimore or San Francisco. Mm-hmm. So I thought, let me go with somebody that has a chance but is not one of those two teams. So I texted him back and I said, okay, Dallas. 6 o'clock Friday night, I'm like, you know what? I don't think so. So I text him and I said, you know what? Change my pick to Buffalo. He writes back, sorry, it's already done. They didn't post it till 5 o'clock on Saturday with me saying Dallas. Now, Derek, I have proof right here. I said, change me to Buffalo. Because I knew Dallas was, I just had a feeling about it, right? And it's, there it is on the web, Jake Query, Dallas. I didn't say Dallas. I said Buffalo. That's all.
Can I tell you something? I probably speak for a lot of people and just about everybody watching.
No one cares?
Yeah, I don't care.
No, I get it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
for a graphic,
happy,
who is your Super Bowl prediction winner? Do it like a normal pick graphic.
Okay.
Just need your Super Bowl winner prediction. Dallas.
Yeah. Okay.
Friday, 7:06 p.m. If you haven't done it yet, change mine to Buffalo.
Okay.
He writes back, already did it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm real sorry.
There.
Yeah.
See?
Great. Okay.
You can see it right there. I said Buffalo. Buffalo.
Quick hits.
Buffalo Bills, not Dallas. Buffalo.
Chateau Kitchens, Biter, Bowl Bleep, and some hoops talk, as we promised. It's Query and Schultz,
Bills.
ISC Sports Network.
Okay.
IUPUI basketball is back. Come witness history with head coach Matt Crenshaw inside Indiana Farmers Coliseum and head coach Kate Bruce inside the Jungle as they usher in a new era of Jaguars athletics. Be there for exciting Horizon League and in-state matchups. Affordable fun for the whole family. Full season tickets are now on sale starting as low as $80. Order today at iupuijags.com/tickets or call 317-278-2530. Work hard, make noise, have fun. Go Jags.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network. And right now, if you're watching this live upon its release, we are taping this on Tuesday, but it, of course, goes live at, 7:30 p.m.?
7:30, yeah. So now it's 8:05, 8:10, something like
That's
that
right,
when
yeah.
you're watching it.
So we are hoping that you are doing so with the Indiana-Purdue game on in the background, perhaps. But maybe you're watching this after the fact. Indiana-Purdue tonight, game number 1 of this rivalry for this season. Of course, Mike Woodson 3-1 against the Boilers. But, Derek, you're right. I mean, kind of dicey to say it right now because it could be that it's a 20-point game. We don't know it yet because we're taping in the morning. But I do think, clearly Purdue's the better of the two teams on any given night, right? Certainly Indiana has the capability and the firepower and the athletes to be able to make things difficult for Purdue, especially in Bloomington. I think Mackenzie Mbako's game-by-game improvement and starting to finally show why he was such a highly touted, highly recruited player is starting to come to fruition. And Indiana's going to need that, obviously. But, Purdue, I think we have a really good idea. Purdue's going to have to really fall off to not be a 1 or 2 seed in the tournament, clearly. Wisconsin's got a decent start here in the Big Ten and may be, at this point, the front runner within the conference itself. And I don't know that 2 for the Big Ten get a number 1 seed. Who knows? A lot to happen between now and then. But bottom line is, I do think that these games might mean more for Indiana this year in terms of how badly they need it than Purdue.
Yeah, because Indiana's fighting for a tournament berth. So, Purdue is safe when it comes to that. And, let's face it, with the way Indiana's played on the road, you've got to take advantage of these home opportunities. And there aren't a lot of great home opportunities because the league's not very good.
Right.
There aren't a lot of surefire tournament teams. I know we're excited about, what Wisconsin has done so far, but they've beaten a bunch of teams. Michigan State's been very disappointing. Ohio State has kind of fallen off here lately. They beat Northwestern, but they did it at home. Nebraska's been a little bit better, but they did it at home. They beat Iowa at home.
Listen, Nebraska, when Indiana got beat by Nebraska, and maybe this is a kudos to Purdue. When Indiana got beat at Nebraska, I kind of snickered at it. When Purdue got beat at Nebraska, I thought, okay, maybe they are pretty good.
Yeah.
Their guard plays really good. They can shoot from the outside. Northwestern can also shoot from the outside. Bottom line is what we have seen so far this year is that the ingredient to beating Purdue is doing so by scoring from the outside, and Indiana can't do that.
Yeah, it's hard for them to do that. And while they have been statistically a pretty good 3-point defense, teams are attempting a lot, and generally that means that eventually some of those shots are going to fall. But tonight it comes down to what it always comes down to, I think, for both Purdue and for IU. For the most part, what Renew and Mbako and Ware and Edey are going to do.
Renew's a good player.
It's about
He's
the
played
guard
really
play.
well.
It's about the guard play. If Trey Galloway plays well, Indiana will have a chance. If Braden Smith plays well, it's going to be really hard for Indiana. Fletcher Lawyer, too, it's going to be really hard for Indiana. I still think that's really what it comes down to for both of those teams. But, gun to my head, who is this game more important for? It's Indiana, just because you're at home and you got to take care of business at home because they've been so bad on the road.
And maybe this is the game where he finally breaks out, I guess. But at this point, Xavier Johnson, based on the way he's played, the way he's acted, and the immaturity he shows, I don't think it's Indiana can't get rid of him fast enough.
Yeah, he's just been a net negative on this season. But you know what?
I mean, he has talent, and I don't know him as a person, but for his age and his maturity level in terms of the calendar, he is far too immature a player, and he has put up with he has exhibited way too much BS for an Indiana fan to have to be tolerant of.
And again, this isn't a direct comp, but remember a couple of years ago, and he was always a very good defensive player, but Rob Finney couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. Like, you would rather have me take an open shot than Rob Finney. And remember, he went off in that game against Purdue
right.
and hit the game winner, and that was the breakthrough. It stopped a, whatever it was, 8-9 game losing skid. Maybe this is the redemption game for X. Maybe.
Would he be the X factor?
We'll have to see. Maybe he can be the X factor.
Listen.
X.
But when you consider his ejection that he's already had, when you consider the this is a guy that's older than 9 players on the Pacers roster, and this is a guy that got suspended for leaving the hotel when they were on a road trip, got picked up for, at the time, a felony charge for driving like 90 miles an hour through Bloomington, and seemingly like nothing happened for that. Maybe he ran extra wind sprints. I don't know. Then he comes back. He's been injured. He gets back on the floor. He immediately racks a guy on the other team, gets ejected, hurts his team in that regard. He's been playing like a pile of dog, whatever. I don't know why Indiana has stood by him at this point, because he's an embarrassment to the program and the jersey, and he should not be allowed to continue to play there.
We'll see if he redeems himself tonight. We'll see. Pacers-wise, not a lot to say. They're in a difficult Western road swing, and they're down a bunch of players, obviously not having Halliburton, but they didn't have Brown or Nesmith.
Yeah.
They were run off the court by the Jazz.
It almost seemed like in that game with Utah that Rick Carlisle just said, you know what, we're missing a couple of our guys. As soon as the lead got to double digits, it's like
it's 82 games. So
it's a back-to-back.
Yeah.
Jordan Nwora, go get your time.
You have to kind of be strategic in how you play it. And I don't want to sit here and say every Pacers win is a huge deal and every loss, don't worry about it. But it's 82 games. And you just kind of go through this. I think the Pacers, when they're fully healthy, are in a good spot. And also with the trade deadline looming, they're in prime position. If they want to make a move,
you're right,
they're in prime position to make a move. They have a lot of tradable assets and cap and all.
Do not trade. Do not. Indiana Pacers, I'm begging you. There are 2 guys on the roster that I think are perfect guys. Championship teams have these kinds of guys on their roster. 2 guys.
Nesmith's one of them.
How'd you know that?
I just know. I know you. I know everything about you.
Nesmith is absolutely one of them. He guards. He is totally unselfish. He asks nothing, at least on the outside, from his teammates. He just goes out and does his job, and he hits threes when the ball rotates over to him. He is absolutely one of them, Aaron Nesmith. The other one, starting to come into his own, and has been a difference maker at times when he's on the floor.
Matherin?
And allows them different combinations to do different things and doesn't need a lot of minutes to be impactful. And it's happening before our very eyes. It's like Jordan Love. All of a sudden you're like, whoa, wait a minute. The time spent watching is starting to pay off, and this guy has some skill. Isaiah Jackson.
Oh, okay. He's had a nice season.
Isaiah Jackson's going to be a player, I'm telling you. I don't know if he's ever – I mean, he's like an Antonio Davis.
Yeah.
Like, he's maybe not your starter, but he's a really good piece coming off the bench.
Yeah, I think once Isaiah Jackson got the foul piece figured out a little bit more, then you could – because he can actually stay on the floor now. I think the problem with Jackson is that he'd come on the floor and he'd pick up 4 fouls in 20 seconds, and then you're like, okay, well, he's got to go back
But
now.
He is a freak athlete.
Yeah. Yeah, the talent is there for sure for him to be a good NBA player for a really long time. Let's get to our IUPUI Jags report. IUPUI. Women's basketball got a dub. They split their homestand this past week, so they did lose to Wright State, but they bounced back with their highest scoring output of the year, beating NKU 96-81. 4 Jags with 14 or more. Katie Davidson with 27, almost a 30-piece for her. Jags on the road this week at Cleveland State. Saturday, they return home on the 24th for Jags winter homecoming game of Jam the Jungle, they're calling it. It's a blackout game with a black shirt giveaway in the jungle. Should be a really fun night. IUPUI.com, IUPUIJags.com/tickets for tickets to that. Men's hoops, 2 heartbreaking home losses. They fell to Green Bay and then Horizon League leader Oakland, but they'll be back for Cram the Coliseum Also part of the winter homecoming against
Coliseum is just such a cool
Rob
place to
Moe.
watch a game, man.
12 p.m. Saturday. First 150 fans in the building receive crossbody bags, and there will be multiple shirt giveaways in the game. I'm trying to think of what I've got going on Saturday. You want to go? We can walk from your place.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll bring James.
Okay.
We can go. Uncle Jake, he thinks you're just the coolest for some reason.
I mean,
It's just the worst. Everybody. My mom asked about you the other. How's Jake doing? He's great. My dad's like, I listen to him on the radio. He's just great. He's really settling in. Okay, guys, I'm. Hi. Your son's doing great. You want to talk about that?
look at that. Look at
IUPUIJags.com/tickets. Oh, don't want to forget men's and women's swimming and diving home meets Friday at the Nat. Against Wabash and
diving.
Butler. Men's tennis, first start of the year. That'll warm you up a little bit, watching some tennis. Home meets against Marion and Toledo. That's Saturday and Sunday at the West Indy Racket Club. Again, IUPUIJags.com.
He's playing tennis.
/tickets.
I'm doing the Jags. He's done
We'll
every
come back
sport.
with quick hits and Chateau Kitchens. Buy it or Bull Bleep.
All right.
It's Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Back for a final time here on Query and Schultz, presented by Bailey and Wood Financial Group. Thanks so much for making us a part of your day /week /
This little
life.
Jaguar's awesome.
Yeah, he's great. He's great, yeah. If you had procreated, you could bring that to one of your kids. Okay. I'm not hating on your choice. That's fine. Lots of people do that nowadays.
You don't know that I haven't.
I guess we don't. Yeah, we don't know. There might be, God help us all, if there's a half J Query running around. Chateau Kitchens is the best in home remodeling. Anything on the interior of your house, whether it be a kitchen, obviously Chateau Kitchens, a bathroom, a basement, like they're doing at my house. In fact, they've done all three of those things. You can visit them online at chateaukitchens.com, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook. If you don't want to take my word for it, just look at the gorgeous before and after pictures. It's absolutely amazing.
Just not of your shower.
Here's what we do with Bite or Bull Bleep. We go back and forth, and I give a statement, and Jake and I say whether we bite or it's Bull Bleep. Here's statement one. Gardner Minshew will be the opening week starter for somebody else next season. Bite or Bull Bleep?
I'm going to say it's Bull Schultz. I do agree that there are probably some teams that'll give him a look, but I think that most teams at this point will see him for the Colts. I think this year showed what his ceiling was, right? A really serviceable backup quarterback that did a nice job for them, but you also knew where the limit was.
Yeah. If you could leave it to 3 or 4 starts for Gardner Minshew, I think you could do a heck of a lot worse.
Right.
I do think he'll go somewhere where he might have the chance to compete for the job in camp. I think Minshew wants to start. Obviously, I think everybody, I don't think that's breaking news.
Give me a team right now that like you look at it and you go, yeah, I could see him like going there.
Atlanta or something like that. Just somebody
Atlanta,
that would open it up.
Atlanta does come to mind.
Somebody that would open it up.
Bill Belichick interviewed with Atlanta, by the way.
I saw. Yeah, I saw that. It was a crazy week, and I felt like it was too dated by the time it got to us, but with Saban and Belichick and all that happening in like a 24-hour period.
Pete Carroll.
Statement 2, Mike Woodson has underperformed expectations to this point.
I'm going to say Bull Schultz, and I'll tell you why. I think he's about where they thought. I mean, I think Mike Woodson, here's what's interesting. I do believe this, Derek. I think that Mike Woodson was brought into Indiana to just kind of right the ship, get them some recruiting credibility again, and then hand it off to a long-term coach, a younger coach. But just to get some stability and get them back in the tournament and get some juice about the program. And I think that initially it was thought that it would be like a 3 or 4 year thing. Then I think Mike Woodson got in there and said, I'm not going anywhere. And he basically became like the Wolf of Wall Street guy, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's like, oh, boy. But to this point, I think he's done about what he was thought he was going to do. It's beyond now that becomes interesting.
Yeah, I think Woodson's been fine. Like this stuff about him, getting fired or anything like that is, I think, is absolutely crazy. But Indiana fans, this is what they do. Indiana fans melt down about things. I was part of that fan base. I know what they're like. I don't know if I buy it or it's bull bleep. I think Mike Woodson has done what he has set out to do, and that's stabilize the program. I still think the program feels a lot more stable than it did under Archie Miller and all of that. Now, they're not going to Final Fours and things that the fan base wants, but I think he's met expectations.
My buddy Rob Whitaker, who's a regular listener of this program, thank you, Rob, he made a comment to me the other day that I thought was really accurate. And he said, you know what's funny, Jake? It's like the Archie Miller era just didn't happen.
Yeah.
When people talk about IU, they're like, well, Tom Crean and Mike Davis and Kelvin Sampson. No one mentions Archie Miller.
No.
You know what I mean?
Just a lot of forgettable basketball.
Totally.
A lot of just completely forgettable
It's like
basketball.
16 and 15 every year, right?
Yeah, and then, every game was like 57, 51. It was just, It was bad. Final one, bite or bull bleep. Jim Harbaugh should stay at Michigan.
Oh, bullshit.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to give him $15 million a year. He's going to go to the Chargers, live in L.A. He's got no NIL to worry about, no sign stealing scandal. And he's the best thing for Jim Harbaugh is going to be when he's not in Ann Arbor when they take the banner down, right?
What's weird is, and you don't think of it this way, but time just goes fast. He spent 8 seasons there, right?
Yeah.
That's almost
a
decade.
And the first couple of years, it was like, what is he doing?
Yeah, he started pretty well. The middle was when it really got. Ooh.
By the way, I'll give you credit. You said like in October, you're like, Michigan's the best team in the country.
Yeah, we have it on tape. I decided not to play because I'm not really one to do that. But yeah, Michigan's the best team, and they won it, and I still hate them. But yeah,
cool uniforms.
Why deal with all the BS?
I kind of like Michigan. I've always kind of liked them.
Nah, I can't stand them. Can't stand their fans either. But I like Harbaugh. I'll say that.
I like him too.
We don't have time for a full slate of our quick hits, but I wanted to get to this. Did you see this? There's a story of a dentist who was unlicensed, but he was running his practice out of a La Quinta in Danbury, Connecticut.
You mean the hotel?
Police responded to a La Quinta hotel in Danbury, Connecticut to investigate reports of somebody practicing dental work, and they arrested a man who is accused of performing a dental procedure without a license. Officers responded to the La Quinta Hotel Sunday after getting reports of someone who was practicing dental work, and they spoke with a man who claimed he was conducting dental referrals. When officers went into the room, they found dental drills, suction machines, a portable x-ray machine, and bottles of amoxicillin and other medications. As police were talking to the suspect, a man who had gauze in his mouth came out of the bathroom.
It was hard to interview him, though.
And confirmed he had just had a dental procedure.
I think I saw him in the yellow pages.
Oh, yeah. Arrest that man. The suspect has been charged with practicing dentistry without a license and illegal sale of prescription drugs.
Did the guy that came out of the bathroom, did he not think it was weird? He's like, I'm in room 71.
I mean, I know that stuff's expensive, but having somebody perform dental surgery on me in a La Quinta, I would probably
wouldn't
pass.
You at least go to the Holiday Inn Express?
Yeah. Something
because at least if he stayed there the night before.
I stayed in La Quinta recently, and it was nice.
I know, but the Holiday Inn Express makes you smarter,
right? Usually low rent, but it was the one that I stayed in was nice. Thanks to Bailey and Wood Financial
Did you get
Group.
your dental work done?
Our friends at Chateau Kitchens. I go
Clearly
to an
got
actual
your wisdom teeth.
Practicing dentist. Hoagies and Hops and our friends at Chili Water Brewing. IUPUI Jaguars Athletics. Love Heating and Air as well. For Vince, for JD, for Rake, for Jake. I'm Derek. Stay warm, you guys, and we'll see you next time for episode 170. It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
IUPUI basketball is back. Come witness history with head coach Matt Crenshaw inside Indiana Farmers Coliseum and head coach Kate Bruce inside the Jungle as they usher in a new era of Jaguars athletics. Be there for exciting Horizon League and in-state matchups. Affordable fun for the whole family. Full season tickets are now on sale starting as low as $80. Order today at IUPUIJags.com/tickets or call 317-278-2530. Work hard, make noise, have fun. Go Jags.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.